How could the Russia-Ukraine war end? This is a great article from The Times, and it's working on 4 possible scenarios. On the battlefield, the picture has never been so bleak. Russian troops occupied 6 times more Ukrainian territory in 2024 than in 2023. More than half of the territory that Ukraine seized in their surprise autumn incursion at Kursk has since been surrendered. Multiple Russian offensives are continuing along the 1,000-kilometer front line, costing Ukraine more ground every day in the eastern Donbass region. The towns most at risk of capture include the main Ukrainian logistics center at Pokrovsk, The Times writes. Ukrainian industry has also taken new hits. Outside Pokrovsk, the mighty Metinvest mine, the only facility in the country producing coking coal vital to Ukraine's steel-making industry, is the scene of fierce fighting. It was shut down and evacuated by Ukrainian miners 10 days ago, who first blew up one of the main shafts to prevent Russian troops from using it to advance underground. In addition to the 6-figure number of Ukrainian troops killed and wounded, another 51,000 Ukrainians, mostly soldiers, are now missing. Outside the battlefield, more than 40,000 Ukrainian civilians are dead and wounded. Over 3.5 million Ukrainians have been displaced internally, and more than 6 million have fled abroad. The challenge still exists. However, if it is to survive now, Ukraine needs much more than defiance. It needs Trump. Trump's election victory was once viewed with fear by Ukrainians, who doubted that an American president who professed good relations with Vladimir Putin could ever bring them joy. Yet 3 years of spasmodic military support and an inarticulate strategy from President Biden, which has given the nation a sense of slipping survival and slow defeat, has allowed a desperate hope to flourish among Ukrainians that the new U.S. president, a man so vocal in his aim to end the war, might perhaps end the conflict in a favorable manner. Although Trump has been critical of Putin and President Zelensky, the U.S. president's social media post on Wednesday, threatening sanctions against Russia, added to these hopes. If we don't make a deal, and soon, I have no choice but to impose high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on everything sold by Russia to the United States, Trump posted on Truth Social. Ignoring unlikely scenarios involving Putin's sudden death or a magical Ukrainian counteroffensive, there are 4 realistic outcomes of the war. Ultimately, Putin believes that Russia can resist Western engagement and defeat Ukraine. Trump's ability to shatter that belief will determine which of these 4 possible outcomes becomes reality. The first scenario is the worst. If Russia chooses to continue with the war and avoid negotiations, then, if it breaks away from U.S. support, Ukraine could ultimately be broken and militarily defeated. Knowing his desire to end the war quickly, and remembering his criticism of Biden's clumsy withdrawal from Afghanistan, Trump will be wary of allowing this disastrous outcome to unfold. If Ukraine is crushed, the consequences for global security would be far worse than the fallout from the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Millions more Ukrainian refugees would flee the country. Thousands of those who remained would be imprisoned in Russian penal colonies. And NATO, once proud of its expansion into Finland and Sweden, would end up instead with Russia's westward expansion and Kremlin tanks approaching Poland. Almost as bad as the first possible outcome is the second, in which, in the absence of a negotiated agreement or U.S. support, Ukraine folds and is forced to sue from a position of weakness for a bad peace deal that sees the country divided and a quisling government installed in Kiev. A victory for Russia and a clear defeat for Ukraine and its Western allies. No Nobel Prize for Trump here. The third involves a ceasefire. If it is part of a transitional phase, leading to a final settlement, a peace agreement, and a real end to the war, then it could lead to regional stability and the survival of Ukraine, surrounded by security and economic guarantees. Without a final settlement, Trump's inner circle is clearly aware that a ceasefire by itself is not enough. Standing alone, a cessation of hostilities would simply freeze the war along existing front lines, allowing fighting to resume again at Russia's convenience. Ukraine and its Western allies are already aware of 2 previous crippled ceasefire agreements, Minsk I and Minsk II, which failed to end the conflict in the Donbass a decade ago and laid the groundwork for a full-scale invasion in 2022. In an encouraging sign, Marco Rubio, the new U.S. Secretary of State, acknowledged the need to go further than simply stopping the fighting when interviewed by U.S. broadcaster CBS on Tuesday. "We want to do everything we can to help it get done," Rubio said. "We will commit to making it end in a way that is sustainable, which means we don't just want the conflict to end and then restart in 2, 3, or 4 years later," he said. The fourth possible outcome, and the crisis of Ukrainian hope, would involve the U.S. strengthening Ukraine's hand so that it could participate in peace talks from a position of strength, resulting in an agreement that ensures that Ukraine has a sovereign and economically viable future, with security guarantees protecting it from further Russian threat. Given that Russian territorial gains at this stage of the conflict are unlikely to be reversed, strengthening Ukraine's hand translates as Trump piling up sanctions on Russia and committing to supporting Ukraine with weapons and money if Russia chooses to either avoid peace negotiations or participate in bad faith. This is the end of the Times article, and at the end, a Warthog Defense conclusion. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has backfired on nearly all its proclaimed objectives. The war, intended to halt NATO's expansion and diminish Western influence, has instead triggered the alliance's largest enlargement in decades. Finland and Sweden, historically neutral nations, have joined NATO, bringing new strategic depth and signaling the failure of Russia's attempts to deter the alliance. NATO allies have increased defense spending significantly, strengthening the alliance while fueling the growth of the U.S. weapons industry, a stark contrast to Russia's declining military capability. Russia's proclaimed goals of demilitarizing and denazifying Ukraine have also backfired spectacularly. Ukraine, far from being weakened, now possesses a military several times stronger than it was prior to 2022, bolstered by Western training, funding, and advanced weaponry. Ukraine's resilience has exposed the limitations of Russia's military, which has suffered catastrophic losses in manpower, equipment, and reputation. This erosion of military strength has reduced Russia's standing as a global arms supplier, with its weapons market shrinking as countries increasingly question their reliability. Economically, Russia has faced similar setbacks. Once a dominant energy supplier to Europe, it has lost this crucial market due to sanctions and Europe's pivot to alternative energy sources. Russia's economy is now increasingly dependent on China and, to a lesser extent, India, leaving Moscow in a subordinate position. Furthermore, Russia has lost its strategic grip on Syria, where its influence has waned due to its diverted focus on Ukraine. Ultimately, the war has strengthened Ukraine, NATO, and the Western alliance, while isolating and weakening Russia on nearly every front. Instead of achieving dominance, Moscow has accelerated its own decline.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. He's doing the job every day.